Hi, Dennis.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I have a question about gray coverage.
Sure.
In the salons today, hairstylists still have problems with gray coverage, and I was wondering if you could help us out today and give us a few of your tips on covering gray hair.
Well, you know, that's a great question, and it's interesting that here in 2015 that people are still having issues with coverage of gray hair. So what I want to do is just share with you a few things that I use as guidance points when I'm addressing clients that have gray hair. I think the first thing to understand is that gray hair is different than normal pigmented hair because as hair grays, and the reason for that to occur is a couple of reasons. Number one, the body stops producing an amino acid called tyrosine, which is really responsible for the pigmentation in hair. On top of that, the body reduces its production of catalase, which is it's an enzyme in the body. So because of those two things, that is why hair has a tendency to gray prematurely. Now, as hair grays, we know that one of the common things is that it develops more cuticle. And the more cuticle that gray hair has, the more resistant it becomes. In fact, if you think about most permanent hair colors were really designed to only cover from 7 to 10 layers or penetrate 7 to 10 layers of hair fiber, which means that when you have a gray head of hair that is resistant, you may be dealing with anywhere from 14 to 18, maybe even 20 layers of cuticle, which makes sense then why sometimes gray hair doesn't cover successfully for some salon professionals. So here's a couple of tips. First of all, number one, clarify the hair before you color it. Think about this. As clients mature and their hair starts to gray, not only do you lose color in your hair, you lose color in your skin. Your skin gets a little more dehydrated. And so usually those of us that are in that older age group start using moisturizers on our skin. And in the morning, when we're pushing that moisturizer into our skin, there's possibility it could accidentally be pushed into the hair fiber. And then if I'm going straight to the salon and I get a color service, that salon professional applies the color right over the top of the humectants and emollients that I pushed into the hair fiber, there's a distinct possibility that it could impede the color deposit. So number one, clarify the hair. Number two, when you're mixing up your application, if we know that there's an issue where the hair is resistant, I always recommend what we call pre-softening. And what pre-softening really is doing is just swelling the cuticle slightly so it's more receptive to the next color process that you put over it. Now here's the guide that you use. Always 2 levels lighter and a warm shade. If you keep that as a guide when you're pre-softening and you pre-soften straight from the tube, it's always going to set the hair up for a successful result. Next would be, of course, application. And the thing about application is making sure your sections are fine. I always recommend no thicker than 1/8 of an inch. You should be able to read newsprint underneath the section. And do your application. Once the hair color has processed and your timer goes off, then you want to check the areas where the client was most gray or most resistant. By checking those, you can see whether or not the color is taken or whether or not it is a slip. Now, if it has slipped, it's really a simple fix. All you do is mix up the same formula you were using previously with a low volume developer and apply it right over the top of the color that is on the head currently. What will happen is because that hair is already pre-softened, you will get better color penetration, and in a matter of maybe 10 to 15 minutes, you will have a deposit and you will have complete coverage of your gray hair. Now, those are the hot tips that I would recommend when addressing gray hair, and understand that not all gray hair is resistant. Some gray hair responds wonderfully to demi-permanent products. Some gray hair, even to permanent hair color, it just kind of stands up and laughs at you. So we have to address each head individually. But there should be no reason in this day and age for us to not have great success working over clients with gray hair. So I hope these hot tips helped you. I hope it's answered this question, and I look forward to the next time we're together. Thanks.